Hello. Oh, hi. How you doing? My name is Ian Gallacher. I fly for two aerobatics teams, Skydiving and Aerosparxs. You might have seen Skydiving in some parachute magazines. We've been throwing parachutists out of gliders out in Dubai and Qatar. So I'm here to explain how we got into doing that and our aspirations for doing it here in UK with you guys, hopefully soon.
And my name's Kate, and I'm here as the complete aviation layman. I'm a complete novice. I've been up in a plane, I've been on holiday. I have completed skydive before and recently done a loop-the-loop, so I've had a little bit of a taste in it. But my background is very, very different, and we're going to talk to you a little bit throughout today about how we've teamed up together, and our aim is how we are to introduce aviation and your sport to the mainstream and to the youth to get people inspired and involved as we move forward.
So, parachuting, to me, looks super cool. Is it to you guys? Yeah, how many of you all parachutists in here? So, a bit like the British Gliding Association's AGM that's actually on at the end of the month. You look around the room and you look at the people in the room and you think, well, I'm getting on a bit now and I'm CFI of a gliding club and I'm thinking about who's going to take over for me. How do we inspire the next generation of aviators? We know there's a world shortage of airline pilots. We know that some sports are quite expensive. We also know that it's a bit of a challenge for people to get to some airfields to go and undertake these sports. So how do we inspire these people? How do we reach them? How do we get to them to want them to come and do the cool stuff that you do, or the cool stuff that I think I do, and cool stuff that other people do as well? So Aerosparxs is pretty much one of the teams I fly for. You might have even seen them in the news, you might have seen them in the papers. We get a lot of UFO calls in on Twitter and Facebook and all that kind of stuff, saying, oh, there's UFO over Leicestershire and all that kind of stuff, and it's generally us. So we operate, well, there are 150 teams worldwide, and about half of them do similar to what we do. However, we are the only team in UK that do night formation and pyrotechnics and LEDs. Has anyone seen this fly? You didn't see this fly? Okay, cool. Yeah, anyone else over this side? Didn't see that side. So we operate two Grod 109s. They are motor gliders. You don't require a full PPL to fly them. You can fly them on a motor glider license, and you can turn the engine off and operate them like a glider. About 1 in 30, 1 in 28 glide angle. Not quite as good as your squirrel suits. We get to go to lots of cool places. We haven't yet chucked a parachutist out of a Grod 109 yet, but that is on the cards. We're going to try and work out how we can do that and involve you guys in some of the cool stuff with us too. The airplanes take about 3 hours, 3.5 hours to set up per night display. As you can see there, 3,000 pyros, that's each airplane. It's quite a comprehensive task. And we've got 3,000 LEDs and lights all over the things as well. So they do shine up quite well at night. For those that have seen us, hopefully you'll be able to remark on that as well. Next year, well, this year I should say, 2020, you might have seen the press as well, we're taking part in the World Fireworks Championships, and they're going to be events. Yeah, I know, I see people laughing there. I'm wondering how we're going to get, not too close I hope, but we're going to get involved in those events as well. We're going to be the air element of these fireworks championships, so that should be quite interesting to work into as well. It's interesting to listen to Dan Ludgrove's speech earlier about risk assessments. We do exactly the same thing. For every display, we sit down, work out around the table, sort out risk assessments, how close are the ground launch set of fireworks to us, and all the kind of mitigation you put in place against risk and reward. Yeah, it's just a couple of pictures of these with the lights on the ground. Anyone recognise this place? Sorry? No, not quite that good. Longley. We've done quite a few displays at Longley, and their fireworks and Chinese events that they have on. Our team was also involved in the Olympics opening ceremony. Did you guys see that? This is where our connection with Airability is. helping disabled people to fly and all that kind of stuff. And we had an amputee actually fly this aircraft using our expertise with the fireworks and LEDs on the aircraft. And he flew right through the centre of London, all those airways and stuff like that, as a normal PPL pilot. It did have some assistance on board as well, but yeah, it was part of that opening ceremony. Very challenging. So, moving on to a little bit more about the other stuff that's going on with Glider FX. We're the only people in the world at the moment involving ourselves with you guys, parachutists. It really started by chance. Has anyone parachuted at Sardinia? Anyone parachuted in Spain down to Sardinia? It's where a parachute club actually operates side by side with a gliding club. And the Fox glider that we use for the parachuting is a glider that's made purely for aerobatics. That's its only purpose in life, is aerobatics. And the Fox is a two-seater, so we use it to train people to do unlimited aerobatics in gliders. It's about plus 7.5 G to minus 6 G, so 7.5 times your body weight to minus 6 times your body weight in some of these aerobatics we do. Sat at breakfast one morning, Andreas, an Argentinian parachutist, said, "You guys do the glider?" "Yeah." He says, "I would really like to jump out of your glider." So we looked at each other and said, "Well, are there rules to say we can't do this?" We couldn't find you in Spain. It was all right in Spain. Spain was okay. UK was more of a challenge, unfortunately. It's a bit like how the captain said earlier about the army over-imposing regulation and stuff like that. So we went down there, we took the back canopy off, we sealed the airplane up, and we took off, went about sort of 5,000 foot on a tow, and he fell out of it. But it wasn't quite as good as you saw like the Red Bull guys that go out the wings of the Blarney and fall off the wingtips on the Blarney. We just rolled inverted, he undid his straps and fell out. And that's what we did. That's the first time that we got involved with this kind of formulation. But anyway, that's the Fox glider. So we specially modified this airplane eventually, filled in all the back seat. So the guy in the back, the parachute just had one 2-point harness on elastic bands to pull it out of the way. We came up with all these risk assessments and made a suitable seat bucket to make this work. It also flies at night, with lights and lasers and all that kind of stuff. And also we work with other firework companies doing flybys as well. We get to go to cool places. This is a picture taken in Dubai, where we flew out of Skydiving Dubai, the desert campus, as well as the palm itself as well, and the farm. They've also got another strip that the king uses. And yeah, it's really, really interesting stuff. We went out there specifically to have a go at a world record. We'd done the lobbing the parachutists out at Al-Ain Air Show, and someone from Skydiving Dubai was there and said, "We would really like you to come and do that." So we went to Skydiving Dubai Desert Campus, and we worked up an idea for a world record, and that was to get a parachutist to ascend as high as we could in a lob out of an aircraft rather than just a descent. So we used the Fox for that. Yeah, another couple of nice shots from Dubai. A lovely place. Anyone jump to Dubai? I'm not a parachutist myself. I did have a go at a tandem though, but I really enjoyed it. I'd love to actually take it a bit further, but there we go. Anyone recognise this chap? Then we started experimenting a little bit more. Very similar to what the Barnet guys do. Jump out the back cockpit, slide down the wing, and then lob yourself off the top. And I think that's probably pretty much our opening shot that made it onto the majority of the magazines. So how do we get there? Well, we've got a little video to show you. It was, was our Skydive Dubai experience. We went for 2 seasons, packed 2 airplanes up into containers, sent them out on boats, put them all back together again, and we worked there from about October, flew out every weekend to do this stuff until about March. We bought the stuff to come back again. And we also stayed there for their summer campus as well. They run a little jamboree, winter campus, run a little jamboree sort of thing, so we got involved in that. This is pretty much how we came up with the plan and thought the best way was to get the parachutists out to the best sort of trajectory for an ascent. So, steep dive. At this time, the parachutist has already removed his seat harness, or her seat harness, and stowed the straps out of the way. We pull up past the vertical, okay, it's about a 3.5 to 4G pull up past the vertical, and then just stab forward on the stick, quite an aggressive manoeuvre, and we just basically leave the parachutist in thin air. We move the airplane away from the parachutist. Because the energy that the parachutist has got, they continue further up to the apology before they start descent again. About 3 to 4 seconds, you're in ascent. So, the first few times that we came up with this, we did notice a couple of problems. One, not many free-fall parachutists have gone up before they go down. And there was a couple of occasions where guys went for their canopy release on the way up. And that can be pretty bad. If you open the canopy behind you on the way up, there's only one place you're going to go on the way back down. That's back into your canopy. So that was one of our biggest concerns. So we originally said that we'd only fly parachutists, free-fall parachutists, with a minimum of 250 jumps. We had to set that experience level first, learn from our close calls, learn from where we thought things might go wrong. Lucky enough, we didn't actually have any problems too bad. We had a couple where we didn't push hard enough, went back into the full climb, and the parachutist was still sat in the airplane with us. That happened to me. I thought, what are you still doing here? I didn't push the stick hard enough. So that was it, really. For the world record, we wanted to measure the exit to the apology. So we were looking for the world record, the greatest vertical distance gained by a human skydiver launched from an aircraft or glider in an upwards free fall, free ascent. To eject a skydiver from a glider and measure the vertical distance, the skydiver's upward momentum, and of course, this was a new world record category, so we actually had to spend quite a lot of time of planning and getting it through the Guinness Book of World Records. If anyone's involved in any of that, it's quite a lot of bureaucracy involved. So this is basically where the plan we came up with. We're going to measure from where the glider separates from the parachutist, and we just had a spring clip on an elastic band fitted to the airplane. The spring clip operated a micro switch that started a GPS measuring device to the point where the apology and the parachutist started to descend, and that's where we'd get blips on our trace that we could print off so we could measure that off. Did we achieve it? We didn't. We didn't for many reasons. Was a fact the technology failed us for the actual measurement of the guys on the apology to come back down again. We could get the GPS, the monitor going out, but we couldn't get it good enough for the descent. So we're still trying for that. We'd like to do it in the UK rather than somewhere sunny though. So we'll be looking for some parachutists to volunteer to come along and help us at some point or another, I'm sure. There we go. Currently, at the moment, we've only ejected 260 parachutists from our glider. That's still quite a feat. We tow to 5,000 feet, do some aerobatic manoeuvres first, have a practice at the stall, at the turn and the stall, and then, there we go. So, we then got involved with Skydive Qatar, but they've got a bit of a problem at the moment. They've got a bit of angst going on between the military and the civil parachuting clubs. They're on hold at the moment, but I believe they've been flying in Portugal and out in America. I'm not quite sure the full story. So that's Graham, he's the CFI there, and he's ever sat on the wing. And we've got quite a lot of good stuff with him as well. We want your kids to be, inspired by this, to come and join your fraternity, and we want you guys to join in with us, make it look cool again. Hand over to Kate now.
So, when I first introduced myself, when I first came out before, I said, I'm the layman. You know, I don't know a lot about aviation. I've only been involved with the team for quite a short time, but it really does interest me. And seeing videos and footage like that, thank you, Ian, it's just absolutely awe-inspiring to the mainstream people who go about. So just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I'm a former primary school teacher. I left the profession 10 years ago, and since then I've been working in events. So I run an event company. We work across the UK, predominantly in shopping centres. We work with big brands and Leicester City Football Club and places like that. But day to day, we work with big shopping centres, putting on huge events, everything from all the themed events for Christmas and Halloween, and throughout the summer we do children's workshops and so on. We do fashion shows. And a few years ago I got involved with Aerosparxs and met the team. And I'm always looking for that next event, trying to think about how we can come up with something that's innovative, that the kids are going to like, or something that's different for our mainstream audience. We get a captive audience, we get so many people, but what was that next thing? And one of your team members, Rob, that I've been speaking to for quite a while now, has always been talking about how he can then introduce the aviation and the sport to the mainstream. So together we kind of collaborated and come up with a bit of an event that I'll talk to you about a little bit further along. So obviously Ian's told you a lot about Aerosparxs and the different events that they go to, and events like this, I mean, 300,000 attendees. I say that was Cosford. This one, nice and local.
Show there about 70,000 attendees, but some of the beach shows you can actually have Sunderland. You can expect to get 1.5 million people turning up.
So the team, they get to travel around. You've seen some of the footage that Ian's just shown you. Work with some great organisations, Children in Need, Skydive Dubai. I believe that's Eve Rossi, if any, I'm sure you would know. And get to engage with a big audience. But quite often, from my perception, it's people that are already interested in the sport. It's people that are already, coming along to those shows because they've already got an interest. So I've been speaking to them about how we can introduce that to the mainstream, as we say. Some more of the events and places that they've been to. We've got Guy Martin, Chris Evans, and tell us a little bit about these.
Yeah, Guy Martin came along to learn to fly a glider with us, with our team. It was for his world record he did at Lasham for pedalled flight, which he got the world record at. Did you see it on telly? Yeah, he came along to learn to glide first with us. We borrowed a glider down at Leon Solent, and that's a picture of him up there having a go at it. Really good event that was. Yeah.
And some of the places you've been to.
We get to see some nice cool scenery too, a bit like you guys really. Get to see a lot of cool things from a different perspective. And just another mountain, another day. And sand. We've seen a lot of sand. The team at the moment is actually in Saudi Arabia for their first air show of the year. They're over there at a 3-day event with 2 Grop 109s that we've just seen talked about earlier. Again, Saudi Arabia. And the Saudi Arabians are as enthusiastic with air shows as as you'd find anywhere in Europe. If not, you can see there they close down motorways, just park up and watch. It's immense. Nothing like we've got here. We get moved on. They just park anywhere and watch.
So obviously the team have been able to take this footage and been able to work with some fantastic organisations. The GoPro Video of the Year, spreading across social media, Video 360. That was in Dubai, clearly.
Yeah, Dubai, formation flying with some guys in wingsuits. We did have a problem there because our glide race show far exceeded theirs, so we had to stick someone in the back seat, a bloke called Alan Gayton. Some of you might have met him before, Skydive Dubai, and he wore a wingsuit to help with the drag. We also had the air brakes open on the wings as well, so we could actually try and match the glide ratio of the scroll suits. We got a 360 video, but it's not quite as good on this. Although it doesn't actually show it quite as much here, but the guys are actually close enough to touch the wingtips.
Is this the guy on the left that's creating the resistance that you were saying about? So the team then have been able to take that technology, that footage and all those amazing things that they've seen and bring it to children, to engage them. And this is what we've been looking to be able to do. So with VR headsets and augmented reality, how we can then engage in their own environment, a way of getting them interested in the sport and sort of giving them a little taste of sort of the whet their appetite and to see how we can get them involved a little bit more. So, do the live 360 streaming, as you mentioned, and all the different ways that the technology can be used and how we could perhaps involve that with your sport as well. So this was with the AR, that was sort of a hotspot that was on the magazine, and as they held the phone in front of it, the glider came sort of in front and was able to rotate and been able to move in front.
The Ospreys, anyone see these guys? Our association with them was 3 Blacks. So there's some other events we've been to around the world, engaging with folk and children in need.
And this event, Hope Against Cancer, so we've got some of the teams there from Leicester City Football Club, Leicester Riders, and I believe there was someone from the Leicester Tigers as well. They pulled together a charity event to see who's got the biggest balls, I think it was called, and took the teams up in the planes to see in Saudi. All the amazing places that they've been to. And something a little bit different, something that, you know, engaging with people that perhaps we wouldn't normally see. This is the Miss Great Britain competition, supporting cancer research and a local Leicester charity, Alex's Wish, which is curing Duchenne. So the Miss Great Britain team, we took all of the girls, all of the finalists up in one of the gliders, and each of the girls completed a loop-the-loop in aid of charity, in support of those charities. So on that one day alone, the team raised over £15,000 for the 2 charities, which was fantastic. So I'm also involved with the Miss Great Britain competition, and again, it was just something completely different for the girls to do and for the team to sort of link those things together. We've definitely interested a lot of those ladies in the sport that want to sort of find out a little bit more about it going forwards. So as we said, we wanted to come together to create an event that was going to, we will bring the mainstream into the sport. And one of those things was an event that we put together called Let's Go Supersonic. So within one of our shopping centres, we worked with Aerosparxs and a number of teams to put on an event to get the young and the youth, and as well as the mums and dads and everybody that joins us, a little bit more interested in so on. So we've involved STEM, so looking at the science, technology, the engineering and the maths and so on, but keeping it fun, making it a real hands-on sort of experiential type of event. We had a simulator for the children to have a go in. The children arrived, they were able to check in at the check-in desk and get a passport, take that around each of the stations to find out what each one was about. There was craft elements, we had pilots there for them to talk to, various different things. So again, it was just about a way of bringing that to that audience for them to do something different in their own environment. And we got some great response. A lot of the parents were sort of saying, you know, our children have never even been in a plane. A lot of the families that were joining us that day had only ever been on holiday in the UK and had never flown in a plane. So the closest that they'd been was to see one up in the sky. So it was how we can then talk to them about the different sports and about sort of parachuting and how they can get involved and link them and signpost them to things like that. So our case study, again, we worked with a shopping centre called Clarendon Square, which is in Hyde in Greater Manchester. The centre attracts around 9.5 million people each year, so there's a lot of people that come, but a lot of our centres are a lot bigger than this, but this seemed to be the one that we worked with throughout that summer. Around 182,000 people joining us each week, and we've got a little video, I believe, just to give you a little glimpse of what the event was like. So I said we had the flight simulator, we had pedal planes, there was the crafts, there was the role play, and the opportunity for the children all to get involved. So that was it. That's our aim, to work with people like yourselves and your sport, and how we can then work to introduce that to the mainstream and I guess to the younger generations in their own comfortable environment, but to get them interested from a young age and see how we can link together.
So events, yeah, generally one of our team turns up, a pilot turns up to talk about flying the aeroplanes, but we can't share your experience, and it's you guys we want to get on board to inspire these young people that want to have a go. They want to hear what you feel like. What does it feel like to jump out of an aeroplane? What's it feel like to feel the air over your face? And getting people like yourselves along to events like this, with the through STEM, through these engagements in shopping centres, does inspire people to actually think, do you know what, I want to have a go at that. And it's not just about the kids, it's about the parents as well. The parents standing around, okay, parachuting, crikey. Is there a parachuting club nearby? How did you guys start? Did you know somebody who parachuted, or you just drove past place and thought I'd have a go, or was it a charity event where you had a tandem go and thought, do you know what, I really like this, I fancy a go at it? You know, we've got to get that idea first, and we haven't got that kind of experience to turn around and explain. We can say what we think it feels like, but that's about it really. We need you guys to help us.
Any questions at all, I guess?
Thought I got away with it. That's all right.
You're mainly based in the north then, are you? Or are you all over the country?
The glider and the airplanes are just where we need them next. So it could be Devon and Cornwall, it could be Scotland. So the airplanes wise, that's yeah. We just leave them where we need them next. It's too costly to move from one side of the country to the next. And you go global for all the shopping centres as
Yeah,
well?
we're based in Leicester, but we travel all across the UK and worldwide with the events. Yeah.
I know you said you weren't able to measure the height gained, but do you have any rough idea of how much height is gained when the skydiver leaves the glider?
Yeah, it's about 400 feet. The guy exits the aircraft at about 135 to 140 mile an hour. So, and you got quite draggy as well, aren't you? So. Was there another question? Oh. So I can speak into this.
What kind of feedback are you getting from the skydivers after they've achieved the skydive?
Well, we haven't really had to advertise it. It's just word of mouth. So we rock up at like Skydive Dubai, for example. A couple of guys have a go. Then the next day we've got 50, 60 people want to have a go. So it's more done by word of mouth than it is done about advertising. So yeah, we've seen it's quite popular. The guys who have done it, we appear to get good feedback. I can't recall one
more the
back one.
sensation of getting out of the aircraft and obviously then travelling up and then having that stall point where you're not travelling up or down and then falling into free fall.
Okay, the guys we first flew with were chief jumpers at these sites. Okay, we originally did it for an air show act. It was done for the LA Air Show. Okay, and it was one of the Skydive Dubai guys that saw it and said, "Can you come and do it with us?" We then sat down and thought, well, we're going to have to leave. We had to pack the airplanes up to go the next day. And the guys from Skydive Dubai said, bring your stuff here and delay taking your stuff back for another 6-7 weeks. We'll work with you to see what we can come up with. So we worked, I can't remember the guy's name, a little Polish chap. He went off and did the first one that didn't work with us. And he said, I can see these problems, these problems, these problems. We sat down around a table, did a table exercise about what risk assessments involve, what can we do, and we came up with a 250 jump, and we came up with a comprehensive brief about what we do in the aircraft emergencies, and all the rest of the stuff that went with it. And then we only flew with very, very experienced staff guys first, for them to come up with a robust brief for other parachutists. So like I said, we've done it 250 times now, and we've actually got quite a comprehensive brief that we give the guys. We've put it down to 100 jumps now. So we're okay at it at the moment. Oh, crikey, how much did it cost? Depends how far we're going to take our aircraft. Typically, it was about €450. 450 to 500 euro. Because obviously we've got to put the aircraft in containers and take them somewhere. And that gets expensive. But not expensive as you think. There was another question over here somewhere. Is that it? Phil? How many gliders do you have in the team? Aerosparxs has 4 aeroplanes, and the glider team has 2 gliders. One is the Swift, which is a single-seat version of the Fox, which is 2-seat. Obviously, you won't be able to jump out of that. Unless you can already fly, of course, and pay the insurance. And we've got our own tug as well, our own Pawnee. So.
Also, just out of curiosity, how many hours or how long does it take to become a pilot and a glider?
Right, you can fly a glider from 14. Age 14, you can learn to fly a glider from, age 14. Typically, somebody competent enough to do these kind of manoeuvres, you're thinking about 300 to 400 hours, and at least 100 hours flying the Fox. You wouldn't, yeah, so it's got to be a well-practiced sort of individual. Okay, I think that's
Is done.
Is that it? Any more questions? Can't actually see any of you in here because of these shiny lights. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.